It started like any other flight. Rows of weary passengers, coffee brewing in the galley, and a crew doing their best to keep things calm and pleasant at 35,000 feet. But what no one expected was that one so-called VIP passenger dressed in designer clothes and dripping with entitlement would turn a routine journey into an unforgettable showdown. You clicked on this video for a reason, and trust me, you're about to get the answer you've been looking for. But first, I want you to stay with me because this story doesn't just reveal what happened. It shows how someone underestimated the wrong person, and how quiet strength can speak louder than privilege. As you're watching, ask yourself, what would you do if you were in her shoes? Because by the end, you're not just going to know what happened, you're going to feel it. This isn't just about rudeness or arrogance. This is about when casual cruelty crosses a line and someone finally decides, enough is enough. A stewardess, trained to smile through anything, faces a storm of disrespect wrapped in smug entitlement. And yet, what she does next flips the script in a way no one saw coming. You'll be shocked, maybe even a little inspired by the way she handles it. This isn't your average airline drama or another viral meltdown caught on camera. It's about boundaries, dignity, and how justice sometimes comes from the most unexpected places. There's a reason this moment is blowing up in travel vlogs and trending under flight passenger freakout, karma caught on camera, and airline drama 2025, because people are tired of seeing kindness mistaken for weakness. You're here because you want to know how it ends, and I promise it's worth it. But don't skip ahead. Every detail matters. There's more than meets the eye in the way she stands her ground, and one subtle move that turns the entire flight against the man who thought his money could buy him a free pass to be cruel. Stay with me, because just when you think you know where this is headed, something happens that flips the whole situation upside down. The stewardess at the center of this storm wasn't just a friendly face passing out snacks or calming anxious passengers. She was the kind of person who had learned early on that respect isn't given, it's earned, and sometimes fiercely defended. She'd worked in the airline industry for years, long enough to recognize patterns of entitlement, especially from those who thought their status and money made them untouchable. But this passenger was different. His arrogance wasn't just palpable, it was almost theatrical, as if he believed the entire plane was his stage and everyone else merely extras. In his show, there was a coldness in his eyes, a sharpness in his tone that unsettled even the most seasoned crew members. Yet what made the situation so charged wasn't just his rudeness. It was the racism, the casual slurs muttered under his breath when he thought no one was listening, and the blatant disregard for the stewardess's dignity that sparked a tension no one could ignore. Around them, other passengers started to notice. Some glanced nervously, others whispered to their neighbors, but most kept their distance, unsure whether to intervene or just stay out of what was quickly becoming a toxic atmosphere. Meanwhile, the stewardess maintained her composure, but inside, a fire was building. She knew this wouldn't end with a simple apology or a polite ask to calm down. This was about standing up to cruelty disguised as privilege, and she was ready to fight back, not with anger, but with a quiet, strategic power that would leave the whole cabin stunned. But what you don't see on the surface is how complicated these moments really are. The stewardess wasn't just dealing with a difficult passenger. She was balancing pressures from all sides, the airline's strict policies, the silent judgments of her co-workers, and the unspoken expectation that women, especially women of color, stay nice no matter what. This was more than a fight in the aisle. It was a microcosm of a larger struggle playing out in airports, airplanes, and boarding gates everywhere. While the man thought his VIP status gave him carte blanche, he had no idea that the stewardess had allies in unexpected places, and that the story unfolding was about to challenge everyone's assumptions. Behind the scenes, the captain of the D plane was already tracking the escalating tension through the cabin cameras and radios. He faced his own dilemma: how to keep everyone safe and calm without making a scene that could cause panic or delays. The flight attendant team was divided. Some urged her to just let it go, worried about the fallout if the situation blew up, while others quietly offered support and prepared for what might come next. This wasn't just about customer service anymore. It was a test of courage, resilience, and the power dynamics that airline employees face every day, but rarely talk about. Meanwhile, among the passengers, a quiet subplot was unfolding. A family seated a few rows away had witnessed parts of the confrontation but had their own baggage. Tensions from a recent family dispute, financial stress, and the fatigue of long travel. Their perspectives added layers to the story, showing how moments like these ripple outward and affect everyone, on board in different ways. There was also a young man, traveling for the first time alone, trying to focus on his upcoming job interview, but now caught in the middle of a scene that made him question what it meant to be polite and professional in a world that often rewards the loudest voices. The stewardess's internal dialogue revealed her own history, why she refused to be the nice girl who lets injustice slide. There were flashbacks to earlier jobs where silence came at too high a cost, to family lessons about standing tall in the face of cruelty, and to moments when she'd had to confront her own fears and doubts. These memories fueled her resolve. Now, even as every word the passenger threw at her chipped away at the fragile calm of the cabin, and the passenger. His story was more than a caricature of entitlement. Beneath the polished exterior was a man struggling with insecurities and a past that few saw, a ruthless business world that shaped his behavior, a personal life fractured by disappointment, and an ego that demanded control because he felt powerless in other parts of his life. This complexity didn't excuse his actions, but it added a layer of psychological tension that made the confrontation more than just a viral moment. It became a battle of wills, a collision of worlds trapped inside the narrow aisles of an airplane. As the flight progressed, the tension mounted with every interaction. The stewardess's subtle moves to document the harassment, the discreet texts sent to the crew lead, and the way other passengers began to silently rally created an undercurrent of anticipation. No one knew exactly how it would end, but everyone felt that something significant was about to unfold. The keywords, flight passenger freakout, airline harassment, karma caught on camera, and racist passenger confrontation, were already trending online as the story leaked. From those on board to social media, the event was becoming more than a flight drama. It was a cultural moment, a flashpoint in ongoing conversations about respect, privilege, and accountability in public spaces. But here's the twist you're waiting for. Just when it seems like the stewardess is about to face her biggest challenge, an unexpected player enters the scene, a fellow crew member who has their own secret history with the passenger and a quiet plan that could change everything. Suddenly, what started as a one-on-one confrontation spirals into a complex web of alliances, betrayals, and revelations that no one could have predicted. The real question is, who will come out stronger, and at what cost? You're still with me, and now you know why this story isn't just another airport video clipped for laughs or outrage. It's a layered human drama that asks hard questions about power, justice, and the courage to stand up when it counts most. And trust me, the moment when the stewardess finally delivers her taste of karma isn't just satisfying. It's a powerful reminder that sometimes the quietest voices hold the loudest strength. But don't get ahead of yourself just yet. The flight still has miles to go, and the real showdown is only beginning. The tension inside the cabin was almost palpable now, like a low hum vibrating through every seat and aisle, waiting to erupt. The stewardess had been carefully navigating the storm of the VIP passengers' insults and veiled threats, but now the conflict was spiraling into something far bigger than either of them expected. It wasn't just about a rude encounter or a simple case of airline harassment anymore. This was a showdown that exposed raw nerves about power, privilege, and the very limits of what people would tolerate before snapping. Every passenger was watching, some with fear, some with curiosity, and a few with quiet hope that justice might finally be served on a plane that, moments ago, felt like a sealed pressure cooker about to burst. Behind her calm exterior, the stewardess was running through her options. The airline's zero-tolerance policy for discrimination and harassment was her secret weapon, but she also knew how fragile enforcement could be when it came to high-profile travelers. There were unspoken rules about who could get away with what, and the man seemed determined to push every one of them to the breaking point. Yet, something inside her refused to back down or to let the situation fade into the usual customer is always right silence that so often protected the worst behavior. She had promised herself that this time, things would be different. Just then, an unexpected ally stepped forward, a fellow crew member who had been quiet until now, but was clearly watching everything with sharp eyes. This colleague was more than just a flight attendant. Years ago, they'd faced a similar situation, one where silence had allowed a passenger's cruelty to go unchecked, and the scars of that experience fueled their determination now. The two exchanged a subtle glance, a silent pact forming between them that this confrontation wasn't going to end quietly. What followed was a coordinated effort, the crew subtly gathering evidence, making notes and alerting the captain without, drawing the VIP's suspicion. The stakes were rising by the second, and the cabin felt like a chessboard where every move was carefully calculated, with the lives and dignity of those on board hanging in the balance. Meanwhile, the man's behavior grew more erratic, the veneer of civility slipping away to reveal deeper insecurities and anger. His insults weren't just aimed at the stewardess anymore. They spilled over into curt commands toward the flight crew and snide remarks about other passengers. The whispers around the cabin turned into murmurs of outrage, and the family, a few, rose back, already tense from their own struggles, found themselves caught in the emotional crossfire. The mother clutched her child tighter, the father's jaw clenched, and their teenage daughter stared with wide eyes, caught between embarrassment and a quiet urge to intervene. This wasn't just a fight between two people anymore. It had become a mirror reflecting the broader social tensions playing out in real time across America, spotlighting issues of race, respect, and the unseen battles many face daily. As if the atmosphere couldn't get heavier, the young man traveling alone, who'd been silently observing from his window seat, suddenly felt the urge to act. He pulled out his phone, ready to live-stream the confrontation, knowing the power of social media to expose injustice, but also feeling the weight of responsibility. His fingers hovered over the screen, torn between the urge to capture evidence and the fear that broadcasting might escalate the situation or violate privacy rules. This tension added a new layer of suspense to the scene, showing how technology has transformed ordinary moments into potential viral sensations overnight, with all the unpredictable consequences that brings. Amid all this, the stewardess's internal world was a complex dance of emotion and strategy. Flashbacks to earlier in her career, where she had been told to keep her head down and not make waves, clashed with her current determination to break the cycle of silence. She remembered mentors who had taught her the importance of standing firm, and friends who had quietly suffered similar indignities without recourse. Each memory added fuel to her resolve, making her actions not just about this one passenger, but about the millions who had been ignored or dismissed. Her calm was a mask for a fierce storm of empowerment, and every measured word was designed to chip away at the man's arrogance without giving him an excuse to escalate. Just as the situation seemed to reach a boiling point, the unexpected twist arrived. A discreet message from the cockpit revealed that the man was, in fact, a well-known but controversial figure in a high-stakes business scandal currently splashed across headlines. This revelation added a shocking layer to the unfolding drama, explaining some of the hostility and hinting at personal demons that had been hidden beneath the VIP status and designer suits. Suddenly, the stewardess's confrontation was not just about a passenger's bad behavior. It was entangled with questions of accountability, public scrutiny, and the thin line between fame and infamy. The cabin's atmosphere shifted once again, with whispers turning into speculation, and even some passengers pulling out their phones to check news updates mid-flight. Yet, even with this bombshell, the stewardess knew the real challenge was still ahead. She wasn't just fighting for herself or the crew anymore. She was standing for every passenger who had ever been belittled or ignored, and for the values airlines claim to uphold, but often fail to enforce. The tension tightened like a rope around everyone's necks, the outcome still uncertain, but the stakes higher than ever. Would she manage to deliver her moment of justice, her taste of karma, or would the passenger's wealth and influence let him slip through once again? As the plane cruised above the clouds, the story inside grew darker and more complex. Subplots wove through the cabin, the family's quiet struggle to hold their lives together amid the chaos, the young man's silent battle with his own fears and aspirations, the crew's unspoken camaraderie and shared burdens. Each perspective added depth, showing how this moment was more than a headline or a viral video. It was a snapshot of humanity, flawed and beautiful, caught in the confined space of a flight. And as you watch, you'll begin to see why this story resonates beyond one plane, why it has sparked trending searches like Flight Passenger Freakout 2025, Airline Harassment Caught on Camera, and Racist Passenger Karma Moment, and why it's not just entertainment, but a conversation starter about justice in everyday life. But the real question remains. When the stewardess finally confronts the man with the full weight of truth, when the entire cabin holds its breath, and when the world watches through countless smartphone screens, what will happen next? The twist that changed everything is just the beginning, and the real showdown is about to take flight. As the plane hummed steadily through the night sky, the cabin was thick with anticipation. The stewardess, now backed by her fellow crew members, and the subtle but growing support of the passengers around her, prepared for what would be the defining moment of the flight. The man who had so brazenly harassed her, the VIP passenger, who had wielded his wealth and status like a shield for his unacceptable behavior, was on the verge of being unmasked in a way none of them could have predicted. This was not just about airline harassment anymore. It was about justice, accountability, and a confrontation that would expose the true character beneath the designer suit and practiced charm. Behind the scenes, the stewardess's calm exterior masked a fierce determination, fueled by years of silent endurance, and the collective strength she'd drawn from the stories shared by countless colleagues. She had spent countless hours training, learning the ins and outs of passenger rights, airline policies, and the subtle art of de-escalation. But this was different. This was about standing up, not just for herself, but for every passenger who had ever felt powerless in the face of discrimination. She glanced briefly at the young man filming discreetly from his window seat. Technology had become a powerful ally, turning moments like these into viral catalysts for change. It was a modern-day sword in the hands of the everyday person, wielded with care and responsibility. Then came the moment the captain authorized the stewardess to quietly inform airport authorities waiting for them on the ground, revealing the VIP passenger's true identity. The man was no ordinary traveler, but a controversial figure tangled in a recent scandal involving corporate corruption and exploitation, the details of which had splashed across major news outlets just days earlier. Passengers whispered, some quickly scrolling through their phones to catch up. This revelation flipped the script completely. The passenger's aggressive attitude suddenly made sense. Not merely entitled arrogance, but a desperate attempt to control a crumbling empire of influence. The stewardess's voice remained steady as she addressed the man directly, calmly recounting his unacceptable conduct while making it clear that the airline and its passengers would no longer tolerate such behavior. The cabin fell into a hush so profound that even the faint hum of the engine seemed distant. What had begun as a private clash had blossomed into a public reckoning. This was the moment where power dynamics shifted, where privilege met consequences. Airport security quietly prepared to meet the plane on landing. A sudden twist rocked the cabin further. The man, sensing the tide turning, unleashed a surprising confession, not of guilt but of regret. His voice, no longer dripping with arrogance, carried a vulnerability rarely seen by the public eye. He spoke of the pressure to maintain a perfect image, of the loneliness and fear that fame had brought him, And most shockingly, he apologized to the stewardess and the passengers for his behavior. It was a moment of raw humanity that shocked everyone, especially the stewardess, who hadn't expected remorse but found herself wrestling with a complex mix of justice and compassion. Meanwhile, the family who had been quietly observing the drama throughout the flight found themselves unexpectedly drawn into the unfolding resolution. The mother, a schoolteacher, shared with the stewardess how her own children had faced similar discrimination, and how witnessing this act of courage inspired her to believe in standing up against injustice. The father, a veteran, nodded in quiet approval, while their teenage daughter recorded a heartfelt message about resilience and respect, soon to be shared widely on social media. This ripple effect captured the essence of why the story had touched so many, because it was no longer just about one flight, one passenger, or one stewardess. It was about a shared experience of dignity, empathy, and standing up for what's right. As the plane touched down and the authorities stepped on board, the stewardess watched with a sense of quiet triumph. The man was escorted away, not with the usual fanfare of celebrity escapes, but with the sober reality of consequences catching up to him. Passengers began to applaud softly, some wiping away tears. The crew exchanged relieved smiles, their teamwork and courage having turned a moment of fear into one of empowerment. But the story didn't end there. In the days following the flight, the stewardess became an unlikely symbol of strength and resilience. News outlets picked up the story. Hashtags like "Your Flight Justice" and "Your Stand Up Fly Right" trended nationwide, and her story sparked a wider conversation about harassment, privilege, and accountability on airlines and beyond. The airline itself pledged to strengthen training and policies to protect its employees and passengers, inspired by the courage shown in the skies. The young man who filmed the event was invited to speak about responsible social media use and the power of citizen journalism. The family's message of hope and standing firm became a viral video that touched millions. Yet the final unexpected twist came when the stewardess received a personal message from an anonymous sender, a former passenger who had witnessed similar abuse but had never found the courage to speak up until now. Their note spoke of a network of individuals who had quietly been supporting each other in the background, sharing stories, resources, and legal advice. It was a reminder that while one fight had ended, a movement was growing, fueled by the bravery of those who refused to stay silent. The stewardess's journey from harassment victim to advocate left a lasting impression, reminding viewers that standing up for yourself and others is never easy but always worth it. This story shows that true strength lies not in silence or submission, but in the courage to confront injustice, even when the stakes are high. It's a call to action for all of us, to hold ourselves and others accountable, to support those who face discrimination, and to never underestimate the power of resilience. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories of inner strength and resilience. Until next time, stay strong, stay brave, and never forget your worth.